was to throw a 0 up there, get his team back in there, try to get him to get on offense and score a run or two and maybe take the pressure off the pitcher. So let's hope Aaron Harang is hitting his spots against a ball club that he certainly knows the importance of this ball game.
Aaron has been a much better pitcher here at home than he has been on the road this season. The first pitch, a breaking ball to Fukudome low. This game is underway. On the home front, 11 starts at Great American Ballpark. Harang's ERA is right at 3.5. 2 full runs higher than that in his 10 road starts. Fastball in, 2-0 to Fukudome, a .270 batter with 7 home runs and 35 runs batted in. There you see the numbers. Go figure. Fukudome leading off the ball game. First of 3 between the Cubs and the Reds. All 3 night games. And there's a strike. 3-1. Fukudome for the better part of a month has been in that leadoff spot. They dropped Alfonso Soriano down to the 6th hole, and he draws a leadoff walk, and that's something that he will do. His offensive numbers aren't all that impressive, but he is a very patient batter at the plate. The Reds on defense presented by Ford. Nix, Willie Taveras, Johnny Gomes in the outfield. Rosales for Scott Rowland at third. Joey Votto at first. Giannis and Phillips up the middle. Harang and Hannigan the battery. Fukudome 6 stolen bases. He's been thrown out 8 times. A very good hit and run man here in Ryan Theriot should they go down that trail. Strike 1.
I don't know if the radar gun readings are any indication of what Aaron Harang has planned tonight. Even though he threw a first pitch breaking ball to Fukudome to start the game off, he has thrown nothing but fastballs, and he's getting it up there. 93. The last pitch was 95 miles an hour. So, you know, maybe he's trying to do a little more oomph early in the ball game to make sure that he doesn't get scored upon early. Go as hard as you can, as long as you can.
0-2 Ontario. When the Reds were swept by the Cubs at Wrigley Field a week and a half ago, I mean, the Cubs just slugged their way through that sweep. In the 3 games, they scored 18 runs. Their batting average was almost .350. They had 16 extra base hits in the 3 games, including 7 home runs. Harang in that opening game of the series got the loss. Went 6 innings, allowed 9 hits and 4 runs. Only walked 1 batter and struck out 6. One and 2 to Theriot. Struck him out swinging. 1 gone in the first inning.
2 good breaking balls in that at bat for Aaron Harang. The big looping curveball, not there. A very tight slider that Aaron Harang decides to go with. And boy, that ball, maybe that's what it was. That may have been a changeup of some kind. That was a slider. It went straight down, and that's much more like it for Aaron Harang. When he's really going good, back in the time when he was winning 16 games a year, that breaking ball had lots of depth right over the top and good hard bite at the end.
Now Derek Lee, a .293 batter, 21 home runs, 70 runs batted in. First pitch breaking ball in there, strike 1 to Derek Lee. Lee 5 home runs in his career against Aaron Harang. One and 1. Lee he had a monster month of July. You may remember he got off to a terrible start in April and about midway through May. But ever since then, he has been the Cubs' best hitter. He closed out July batting .372 over the last 19 games of the month, and during the month drove in 27 runs. Lee, a two-time All-Star, a three-time Gold Glove winner at first base. And a big part of that clubhouse from a leadership standpoint for the Cubs. Meringue ahead at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Fukudome over at first. And there's that breaking ball grounded to Rosales. The Chicago native starts the inning-ending double play. Reds come to bat in a scoreless game.
By Brandon Phillips. He gets his ball. Rosales, the first part of it is a good play, but he is under pressure right there. Brandon Phillips is. He stays on the outside bag, part of the second base bag right here, and he lets that second base bag protect himself from the sliding runner. So he steps back. Fukudome is not able to get to him and upset the throw, and that's an inning-ending double play. A good one for the Reds right there. Nice way to start this ball game.
Let's take a look at Dusty Baker's lineup tonight. Willie Taveras back in the lineup in center field. Adam Rosales at third. Joey Votto at first. Brandon Phillips at second. Lance Nixon left. Johnny Gomes in right. A latter third of Brian Hennigan, Paul Janish, and Aaron Harang. Taveras has missed the last 4 games with a sore left wrist. Turns on the first pitch from Randy Wells. Hits it a ton, but foul. Wells is having an excellent year.
He certainly is. He's had 15 starts, and 11 of those have been quality starts. In fact, his last 8 games have been outstanding. 7 of his last 8 he has nailed down wins, and coming off his best start ever as a major leaguer his last time out.
Terrio to the glove side, throws out Taveras, 1 away.
So what you're getting with Randy Wells is a guy that is really peaking right now. You see in the month of July, 6 games, a 5-1 record, nice earned run average. Overall, his earned run average is even better than that. But he's learned the value of keeping the ball down. In his last start against the Astros, he threw up 3 ground ball double plays to help him go 8 innings in that ball game.
Some of the old school baseball thinkers may say this is a prime example of why you don't rush pitchers to the major leagues. Breaking ball on the outside corner, a strike. You're talking about a young man in Wells who's 26. He's pitched in 184 minor league games, 82 of those as a starter. 1-1 to Adam Rosales. When you spend that much time in the minors, Chris, you know you will learn how to pitch.
Oh yeah, you'll learn how to survive down there. That's really what it takes. And sometimes, you know, it's nice to have a kid that has pitched both in relief and as a starter down in the minor leagues. I mean, those are impressive numbers as far as longevity down there. But in the same hand, if the kid's ready, get him up to the major leagues. Maybe he had to pitch that much to prove that he was ready, at least as far as his ability to throw strikes. And he can throw strikes. The other thing that Wells has done exceptionally well this year is kept the ball in the ballpark. He's only given up 8 home runs
in almost 100 innings. 3-1 to Rosales. And a weak fly ball in the left field, second out of the inning. The Cubs on defense, brought to you by Ford, Fukudome and center. Flanked by Soriano and Bradley. Ramirez, Terrio, Fontenot, Lee third to first. And Coy Hill, well, you talk about a young man you got to give a lot of credit to. He has been catching literally every day for almost a month. He has started Chicago's last 23 games behind the plate. They have not had a catcher do that since Damon Berryhill started 25 in a row back in mid-May, early June of 1989. And during the streak, Hill has caught 207 innings, going back to July the 7th when Giovanni Soto went on the disabled list. The Cubs have only played 6 games, 6 innings in a month. 6 innings where Coy Hill was not the catcher. Two to Joey Votto. They do not have a true backup catcher. A guy that's been a catcher since he was a minor leaguer. Jake Fox caught those other 6 innings that Hill did not, going back to July the 7th.
And it appears that Randy Wells has no inclination to try to challenge Joey Votto with a fastball on this at bat. Everything's been off speed. It's been down to dirt. But you can see why Hill is tough to hit the ball out of the yard on. He keeps the ball down.
Fans, Votto 1-2-3 in the first. We go to the second of a scoreless game. To fix a torn flexor mass in his right elbow, worked on that ligament. Dr. Timothy Kremchek performing that surgery, which took 90 minutes, and he's expected to miss 12 months. We certainly wish him a speedy recovery. He has been very, very much missed. during this 2009 season. 17-game winner a year ago. Unquestionably last year the best Reds pitcher. Makes you wonder, how does that change what you do in the offseason when looking at your starting rotation? Aramis Ramirez to lead off in the second inning of a scoreless game, 2 balls and no strikes.
Well, as it stands right now, Aaron Harang will be back for next year. Bronson Arroyo will be back next year. Obviously, Johnny Cueto under control of the ball club. He'll be back. Micah Owings is nursing a sore arm right now, but it's nothing serious. You got to figure that he'll be back.
Homer Bailey.
Homer Bailey as well.
Foul ground. Joey Votto, 1 away.
Matt Maloney gave the Reds a couple of starts up here. I imagine he'll get another look before the end of the year, probably. Justin Lear, depending on how he pitches here on out, may be in the mix.
Travis Wood, perhaps.
And some others that are pitching some fine baseball down in the minor leagues. I don't think there'll be a lack of candidates. And you just wonder if Walt Jockney doesn't have bigger shoes to fill elsewhere around the diamond besides in that pitching staff.
Swing and a miss by Milton Bradley. Threw a fastball right by him, and we saw Aaron Harang do that to Bradley last week in Chicago. .94 miles per hour, and again Bradley tardy.
Seemingly right down Broadway there, thigh high, middle of the plate. Don't throw it any lower. Unless it's a breaking ball.
Bradley has had a downright miserable year. I mean, there's just no other way to explain it. Signed a 3-year, $30 million contract as a free agent in the offseason. But lately, over the last 3 weeks, he's been a better player. .302 hitter. Scored 12 runs. Beat him with a fastball again, but he's able to make contact. It's still 1 ball and 2 strikes. And if the Cubs are going to win the National League Central, the final 2 months better be better than the first 4 months for Milton Bradley. This Cub team has had a very hard time scoring runs this season. And then he hits him on a 1-2 pitch, allowing Bradley to read.
You know, he leaned into this ball, and you rarely do you see this called, but you know, at some point a batter has to try to get out of the way of the ball instead of leaning into it. I mean, I really believe that's got to be the call of one of the base umpires. The C's got with a much better angle than the home plate umpire. That's just a bad miscall, at least in my estimation, by this umpiring crew. Now, the rule book says a batter has to make an attempt to get out of the way of the ball. Bradley made no such attempt.
0-1 to Alfonso Soriano. Paul Lemel calling the balls and strikes tonight, with Gary Darling at first, Todd Tishner at second base, and Bill Hahn, the umpire, at third. Into right field, a sinking liner drops in front of Johnny Gomes, and Milton Bradley stops at second base.
Pretty good bit of hitting right here by Alfonso Soriano as he takes his fastball. Hannigan wanted it up, but he wanted it higher than waist high. I mean, that is good hitting spot right there. Where he wanted that strike zone is along here. And by getting it down like that enables Alfonso Soriano to inside out the ball, take it to right field with a nice line drive base hit.
Now Mike Fondo, a .230 batter. 8 home runs, 32 runs batted in, and there's strike 1 from Harang. The Cubs rank dead last in all of Major League Baseball. Hitting with runners in scoring position, a .229 collective team average. Well, they're a lot better than that against the Reds. 1-1 on Fontenot, and there's strike 2. Cubs had a killer loss late yesterday afternoon down in Florida. That one pulled foul. They had a lead going into the bottom of the 9th inning, a 2-run lead. And on consecutive pitches, a 2-run home run to tie the game by Dan Uddler. On the very next pitch, a game-ending home run by Cody Ross. Back-to-back nights, the Cubs closer Kevin Gregg has blown save chances. There's a fastball high and away, 2-2.
Yeah, he had an 8-5 lead on Saturday with 2 outs and 2 strikes on the batter before the Marlins were able to come back, tie the game up. He was bailed out eventually, he and Lou Piniella both, and the Cubs by a Derek Lee home run in the 10th inning. So the Cubs did win that ball game, but they blew the lead the next game, a 2-1 lead, a tight one there. But
that ball in the air to deep right center field and back to the wall. It is gone. So Aaron Harang hits Milton Bradley with a pitch, and he allows a .230 hitting Mike Fontenot to hit a home run to just about the deepest part of Great American Ballpark, and it's 3-0 Chicago.
I talked in the pregame show of something about Aaron Harang, and what you try to do as a pitcher, and when you miss, you have to miss down and out of the strike zone or up and way out of the strike zone, not in the hot part of the hitting zone. And that's as simple as that right there for Aaron. Wanted to go away with the pitch, ends up throwing it just above the waist on the outer part of the plate, and Fontenot hits his 9th home run of the year.
Reds fans certainly have to be asking what is unquestionably a legitimate question. And very simply, that question is, what has happened to Aaron Harang? On back-to-back teams that weren't very good, he won 16 games in consecutive years. And then, of course, last season, all of that began to change. And say what you will about a good game here and a good game there this season, he certainly has pitched a number of good games. The bottom line is, since his last win, and that's going all the way back to May, the numbers simply do not lie. An 0-8 record with an earned run average of over 5.5 going back to the month of May. There's strike 3 call. And really, you include last season, when Harang lost 17 games with an earned run average of almost 5. You are talking about nearly 2 full seasons of where the question certainly can be asked, and I don't know who has the answer. Double by the pitcher into left center field.
Well, Aaron Harang just not throwing the ball to his spots. I mean, yesterday's starter for the Colorado Rockies and Jason Marquis can show you exactly what you can do when you throw the ball where you want to. Not overpowering by any means. He sunk the ball against the Reds, got a lot of ground balls, and he had him off stride. When he missed, however, he was down and out of the zone or in off the plate or down off the plate to the other side. When Aaron Harang, it seems like he misses his spot, the ball goes over the center of the plate into the hot zone, and that's a spot you have to stay out of.
Ball 1 to Fukudome, who led off the game with a walk.
And after a while, you know, it begins to work on your brain. Where it becomes more of a mental thing than a physical thing or a mechanical thing, just like a batting slump can take on a life of its own. You get in a rut as a pitcher, as you do a hitter, that you go out and you make a good pitch and the guy hits a double. You make a good pitch, and in this case, Milton Bradley leans into it and ends up getting hit, and it starts the inning off. Then you make a bad pitch, and instead of the guy missing it and popping it up in the infield, he hits a tar out of it, and you're down by 3 runs.
1-2 on Fukudome.
But when you're the #1 pitcher on the pitching staff, making the kind of money that Aaron Harang makes, he knows his responsibility to this ball club. And sometimes that can wear on you. Two and
2 on Fukudome. Randy Wells at second, 2 are out in the inning, 3 runs home in the Chicago second inning. Full count. We invite you to order one of La Rosa's game time deals. Call 347-1111 or order online at larosas.com. Real flavor, real family recipes, and real value from La Rosa's. 3-2 pitch. In the air, foul ground, third base side. Rosales runs out of room. Still 3-2 to Fukudome. It's a long road trip spanning nearly the entire country for the Cubs. We told you this 10-game, 11-day journey began down in Florida. Passes through Cincinnati and ends up next weekend in Colorado. There's strike 3. A 3-run home run by Mike Fondo. The Cubs are off and rolling tonight. Along the mighty Ohio River, looking across, of course, to the home of Roy Alpers and Chris Welsh, the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
The good news is, Tom, you can get there from here.
On many different bridges, many different highways. Reds down 3-0 to Randy Wells and the Cubs on a 3-run home run by Mike Fontenot in the top of this second inning. Brandon to be followed by Lance Nix and Johnny Gomes. Sharply hit ball and right at Aramis Ramirez for the first out of the inning. Our Geico quote of the game from Dusty Baker after Scott Rowland was hit in the head yesterday during the game against Colorado.
Well, he's doing better. You know, he doesn't have any concussions, I don't think. He went to the doctor again today. Says he has a headache. You know, he has a knot on his head, which is to be expected, you know, from that helmet. I mean, the ball bounced all the way at third baseman. Hopefully, you know, he'll be back in there tomorrow.
Reds could certainly use him. That was a very scary play during the game yesterday when he was hit by longtime teammate Jason Marquis. You could tell Marquis felt terrible about it.
I talked to Scott today. You know, he's in good spirits, but he said he went to bed last night with a major headache. He woke up with a headache. He still has a headache. And he said he became that close when after that ball hit him, and he put his finger and thumb about an inch and a half apart.
That'll be an infield hit for Lance Nix.
And he said he became that close as he put his fingers so close together of having that ball knock him out. Unconscious. He was woozy, and when Steve Bauman, the trainer, came out to see him, he said, all right, I want to get off the field. I'm not doing too well. And Steve said, all right, sit right there. And Roland looked at him and said, let's go. And he jumped up, and they ran off the field, but he is doing better today than yesterday. And I'll tell you what, I'd like to have him back in the lineup and back healthy. Tough break for the Reds.
Now Johnny Gomes at 273, 11 home runs, 25 runs batted in. Double play ball here. There's one, and that's a double play to end the inning. We go to the third where the Cubs lead 3-0. Best seats at section 133 to register for your chance to win. You know, those will be nice. 2, 3, and 4 coming up in the Chicago batting order against Aaron Harang here in the top of the 3rd inning. A little bit longer time in between innings with Chris, your good friends from ESPN here in town today. A 3-run home run by Mike Fontenot, accounting for 3 runs in the Cubs' 2nd inning. Ryan Theriot struck out his first time up. A very abbreviated schedule around the National League tonight. Only 5 other games. Boy, howdy. Look at Atlanta and you look at the Dodgers. Last night they played a night game down in Atlanta. There's a fly ball to right field, going to be caught by Gomes. The game didn't end until after 11 o'clock Eastern time. Didn't get on the plane either team till about 1 a.m. and then flew all night to the West Coast. Both of them. The Dodgers going back home. The Braves going to San Diego. And neither team with an off day today. They're both playing tonight.
Well, the rule of thumb obviously in the major leagues is that when you go from west to east, that's when you get the off day. When you go from east to west, you gain those 3 hours, and in the eyes of the baseball schedule makers, that's enough to get your sleep and get back out there and get at it. But there are many times when those West Coast teams will play a game at night, travel out to go back east. I know as the San Diego Padre time would happen all the time. And we'd end up going to Montreal from San Diego, and we wouldn't get in until 7 or 8 in the morning. The sun was up, stuck in mid-morning traffic.
Well, the Reds had that in the last road trip, going from Los Angeles to Chicago, where they did have an off day. Swing and a miss, and on the next road trip they will go from San Francisco, but that's different because you're playing a Sunday afternoon game in the Bay Area and play the next night against the Cardinals in St. Louis. Derek Lee bounced into a double play his first time up and strikes out this time up. 4 of them in the game now for Aaron Harang, 2 away in the inning. Well, you see the beautiful new Toyota Tundra every night when you watch it on TV or come to the ballpark. If a Reds player hits the Tundra out in left center, the Tundra sign in right center, Alyssa Cunningham of Fort Wayne, Indiana will win that Tundra. Register for your chance to win during an upcoming game at your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. And Alyssa, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. You're an Irishman, Mr. Welsh. How would you say that? Cunningham or Coonigan?
Alyssa.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Alyssa Coonigan.
Coonigan?
Coonigan.
Okay. All right, Alyssa. We hope we're saying your name again later, meaning you win that Toyota Tundra.
If she wins the Tundra, she'll accept your apologies for the mispronunciation.
Yeah.
Or maybe my mispronunciation.
That's the old adage. Call me whatever you want.
Just show me the
Tundra. That's right. Swinging a foul ball out of play. 2-1 to Aramis Ramirez, who fouled out to Joey Votto leading off the 2nd inning. And after that, the problems began for Aaron Harang. It's when he hit Milton Bradley on a 1-2 pitch, allowed a single to Soriano before the 3-run home run by Fontenot. Short right field. Gomes coming to get it, and a 1-2-3 third for Harang. After 2.5, the Cubs in front of the Reds, 3-0. The bottom of the third inning against Randy Wells. Ryan Hannigan, Paul Janisch, and Aaron Harang. Latter third in the batting order, and Hannigan looks at a called strike. A .309 batter, Ryan Hannigan, with a home run and 8 runs batted in. Now he's not going to catch as frequently as Coy Hill is catching, but looks like Hannigan is going to be, now that his neck is better. And you may remember he wasn't able to go against the Cubs last weekend. He's going to be catching just about every day until Ramon Hernandez can come back, and we're not sure quite yet when that's going to be. Push to the right side, and Fontenot throws him out to begin the bottom of the third inning. Cubs have won 6 of the 9 games between these two teams this season. Of course, the Reds started the year by beating Chicago 2 of 3 at Wrigley Field. Cubs came back here, won 2 out of 3. And then, of course, these two teams met 3 times a week and a half ago in Chicago, and the Cubs with a series sweep. In the air, left field, playable for Soriano. Goes out a little hop skip every time he catches a routine fly ball. Visit your Cincinnati area Subway restaurant and make a $5 Fielder's Choice. Just select any sandwich on the everyday value menu and choose it to make it a foot long or a 6-inch fresh value meal with chips and a drink for only $5. Now Aaron Harang. Strike 1. Of course, the last time Aaron Harang pitched against the Cubs, he was locked up with Randy Wells. And Aaron Harang hit his first career home run. Not going to happen this time. Reds are gone in order. They have 1 hit through the first 3 and trail by 3. Major League Baseball? It's a good question. I'm looking forward to hearing the answer to this. My question would be, has it ever happened?
Well, if they did, I imagine that they were a pitching-rich team in that particular year.
I think that's a pretty safe bet.
You wouldn't say the Arizona Diamondbacks did that.
No, I wouldn't think.
Although you never know. They did make it with fewer runs scored than runs given up.
Well, you're talking about the team 2 years ago.
Yeah, a couple
you
of
might
years
be
ago.
right. You might be right on the money right there, Professor Welsh. I forgot about that 07 team that went to the NLCS after sweeping the Cubs in the opening round during the division series. 1-0 to Milton Bradley, and it's a near strike. This Cub team ranks 5th in the National League in team ERA, behind the Giants, the Dodgers, St. Louis, and Atlanta. Two and two on Milton Bradley. The Reds travel to San Francisco this coming weekend, and Chris, unfortunately, I'm not going to be along. You'll be back with George out in the Bay Area, but I tell you, I look forward to seeing that Giants team play when they come back here. You know, the Reds have not played the San Francisco Giants yet this season, and you know, we know they don't score much. There's strike 3 to Milton Bradley. In fact, they have scored fewer runs than the Reds this year. And for a lot of you that have been watching the Reds games all season long, I'm not going to say it's impossible to believe that there are teams out there that have scored fewer runs than the Reds. There's only 2 of them. The other 2, though, are the Washington Nationals. You know what their record is.
Sure.
But then the San Francisco Giants are the other.
Now, of course, you're talking in a very big and cavernous ballpark that they play out there in San Francisco. A place that will make a mediocre pitcher a very good pitcher. Here, mistakes go a long way, and they count as 3-run homers. That same ball that was hit by Mike Fontenot off of Aaron Harang, I think in the ballpark out in San Francisco, that ball dies in somebody's glove.
Well short of the warning track. You can book that. In that part of the ballpark, it is 420 feet. But we're talking about a team's offense. And now, granted, the Giants got a hit in that park, but the Reds get to hit in this park.
Yep.
For 81 games a year.
Very true.
Soriano swinging a miss.
Yeah, this may sound funny, but even though that home run that Fontenot hit off of Aaron Harang, but in my eyes, Aaron Harang's delivery looks much better tonight than it has over the last few times out there. He's using his legs better. He's finishing his pitches better. His breaking ball now has gotten very sharp, and he's staying right on top of it instead of just kind of rolling it up there. This is a much improved Aaron Harang, at least from a mechanical standpoint.
A weak fly ball this time by Fontenot, and the shortstop Giannis out to get it. 7 in a row retired by Harang. He's on the short end of a 3-0 game. to the Reds Community Fund Shake League. It's done. All right, time to answer our Aflac trivia question. Wonder if Mr. Welsh is right about this one. The last time a team made a postseason with the lowest average with runners in scoring position in all of baseball. Oh, the 2000 New York Mets.
Now, mine was a guess, obviously.
Yeah, I know.
That's the kind of question that you have to guess, because if you know that, it's time to get a life. I mean, if you know that answer off the top of your head, you ought to be sitting in my chair, actually.
I wish then you would have gotten it right so I could borrow that same line and look at you. Willie Taveras fouls it out of play. Doggone it. I wish you were right. I mean, you look at all those other teams and you say to yourself, wow. I mean, San Diego, the Reds, Arizona, Washington, none of those teams are even in competition for a postseason spot right now. Not even on the lawn, much less the doorstep.
And none of them have the payroll that the Chicago Cubs are footing up either.
You're right about that.
And that's why a lot of people who are handicapping this race down to the wire in the National League Central Division like the Cubs, because their pitching is what has kept them in the race so far, and they have yet really to put any kind of rhythm together offensively. And a lot of veteran scouts and watchers of baseball will say, it's only a matter of time until this team gels and they start hitting on all cylinders. I mean, when Ramirez and Lee and Soriano and Milton Bradley all start hitting at the same time, if that happens, look out.
Two on two to Willie Taveras. He'll be followed by Adam Rosales and Joey Votto. The only hit the Reds have is their strike 3 to Taveras. Was a ball that nearly hit Lance Nix in the knuckles. It was a pop-up that didn't even get out of the infield grass. But because it bounced once, a charging shortstop and a charging third baseman could not throw him out. Lined into right, but Bradley man and played perfectly, and they're 2 away. Well, we showed you earlier. Take a look at the National League Central Division standings presented by Honda. It's going to be some kind of race. Cardinals a half game better than the Cubbies. Milwaukee trying to right the ship along with Houston, still a game under 500, but both very much in it at 4.5 games back. Then, of course, you throw in the wild card, where Colorado and San Francisco are tied atop the National League wild card race. The Cubs are 2 back, the Marlins 3 back. That Florida Marlins team, it is really an amazing franchise. Began playing, of course, in 1993. They've already won 2 World Series. And after each World Series win, completely blew up the entire team and the entire roster. And Larry Beinfest, who is unquestionably the most underrated or under the radar general manager in all of baseball. I'm not sure you could say there is a better GM in baseball today than Larry Beinfest. When he makes trades to trade away big time players, they rarely ever miss. I mean, when you're going to trade Josh Beckett, you better get a horse in return. He got the best shortstop in the game, probably the second best player in the league.
Yep.
In Hanley Ramirez. And the list goes on and on with trades that they have made that keep them competitive seemingly every year. There's ball 4 to Votto. Well, you talk about the Reds and their team payroll right around $70 to $75 million. I mean, the last 3 years, the Marlins have been right there. Come September, they've tailed off. They're going to be there come September again this year. We'll see if they can finish a little better. I mean, you're talking a payroll on that team year in and year out in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, just think if Larry Beinfest had at his disposal a checkbook that would allow him to add on payroll at the trading deadline. Say he had an extra $30 million to spend.
And you give a lot of credit to their scouts and their player development.
Now that's where it's all happens. I mean, it's obviously you have to know your own team and your own players in your organization better than anyone else, but you have to have some consistency in scouting so that Larry Beinfest can go to his advisors and he'll know who to trust. So when somebody says you got to get this kid when you deal with such and such a team because that's the guy we want the most, it helps that general manager cut those deals.
Base hit in the left field by Brandon Phillips. So the Reds, a 2-out walk to Votto, a single by Phillips, and here comes Lance Nix representing the tying run.
Well, a 2-out walk doesn't hurt you unless it's followed by a 2-out base hit and then maybe a 2-out bomb. A little breaking ball on the ground. Randy Wells will throw up a lot of ground balls. He just pounds the bottom of the strike zone. In a way, he reminds me a lot of yesterday's starting pitcher Jason Marquis, in as much as he's staying right down there around the knees on just about everything. Looks like he could throw harder than he does, but he resists the temptation in exchange for being able to command his fastball a little bit. And maybe that's what he learned in over those 150 appearances in the minor leagues. Nix is a good fastball hitter. We saw that yesterday. He hit the 3-run home run off of Jason Marquis when he threw that ball up around the waist. Just a little ahead of that last one that he lined hard and foul.
In the dirt, both runners will move up.
Now, sometimes you want to snap a curveball off so hard that you don't even get it anywhere close to the plate. The old 58-footer right there.
Reds looking for a big hit from Lance Nix. He clubbed a 3-run home run here yesterday to tie the game in the 7th inning. Down the right field line. If this ball is fair, does it have a chance? And well short, out of play. You know, one guy, I don't want to get away from the Marlins conversation without mentioning one guy who's a huge part of their front office. Really the right-hand man to Larry Beinfest is the vice president and general manager, Michael Hill, from right here in Cincinnati. Went to Cincinnati Country Day High School. And then went on to Harvard. Good guy. He and his wife Vivian have 3 sons and made their home in Florida for a number of years now.
Real good guy. Good athlete growing up, too.
Yes, he was. 1-2 on Lance Nix. Off the glove. That's just tough luck right there. Right to the shortstop, Terrio, to end the inning. A hit 2 left, into 4. Cubs lead 3-0. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. 3 runs, 3 hits for Chicago. All 3 hits coming in the 3-run second inning. No runs, 2 hits, 2 men left on base for the Reds. Coy Hill, Randy Wells, Kosuke Fukudome in the Cub fifth. Orang has hit a batter, walked a batter, and fanned 6. Told you about the wild card leaders, co-leaders in the National League, Colorado and San Francisco. The Rockies are off tonight. The Giants, an early run, batting in the first inning, playing in Houston. And Milwaukee will play the Dodgers later. One and 2 on Coy Hill, and the count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Tom, a good time to send our best wishes to a young lady who celebrated a birthday not too long ago, Marguerite Ferguson, at a nursing home up at Bancrest in Eaton, Ohio. We got notified of that by her grandson, Tim Klinger. So, Tim, way to go. We got your grandma's name on the air, and we'll wish her a happy birthday. And she's a longtime Reds fan, watches us all the time from the nursing home, and want to say hi to everybody up there in Eaton, and thanks for watching.
I like that name, Marguerite.
Marguerite.
It's a beautiful name. Belated happy birthday. To Randy Wells. He had a double to left center field his only time up tonight. Good breaking ball there by Harang. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Harang has made 11 quality starts of the 22 that he has pitched in this season. There's a ground ball to Votto. He'll wave off Harang for the second out of the inning. And seemingly in the games that he has pitched well, and he's pitched even, better than those 11. Been a few more of them than that, where the Reds just don't score any runs for the guy.
Well, for the second year in a row, he is on that leaderboard that you don't want to be on. That is the least run supported pitchers around. Last year, he had something like 3.3 runs a game on his behalf, and I think he was second or third in the league in worst run support. And this year he's like 3.87. So anytime you're lower than 4 runs per game as the kind of support that you get as a pitcher, you know that you're walking a very thin line as far as success or failure when it comes to wins and losses. You give up 3 runs and your team's only averaging 3 runs. I mean, you hope to get a tie. So this year it's 3.49.
And the Reds as a team, in Aaron Harang starts as a team, they are batting .239 when he's on the mound and in the game. And there you see Zito, Doug Davis, Kawakami of Atlanta, and Giovanni Gallardo. Doug Davis, there's a guy I'm surprised it was not moved at the deadline. He is having an excellent year for the Arizona Diamondbacks. 2-1 to Fukudome.
You know what, the type of pitchers that moved at the deadline obviously were the premier pitchers. Cliff Lee was moved, obviously. He's the kind of pitcher, Jake Peavy, the kind of pitcher that when you do get into the postseason, they're going to be a number 1 or 2 and really help their ball club.
That ball lined into the corner. This will be a 2-out double for Fukudome.
The other type of pitcher that was moved at the deadline was the relievers. John Grabo, left-hander that was picked up by this Chicago Cub team.
Joe Biden.
You know, those are the kind of pitchers that were also moved to fill that one empty spot, you know, the piece of the puzzle. Now, the exception to it was a pitcher that the Reds will face tomorrow night, Tom Gorzolani. Guy was kind of up and down this year with the Pittsburgh Pirates, but the Cubs need a healthy arm, and he is throwing the ball a little better now, and so we'll find out what that left-hander has to offer tomorrow.
Ryan Theriot, a weak ground ball to the shortstop Giannis, and that is that in the Cub fifth. A hit, a man left, still 3-0 Chicago. To check out the Reds Dog Zone for product samples and activities. To get more information, reserve your seats for the Reds Bark in the Park event. Visit Reds.com/Dog Day. Always a great event. We had one of them last year, 2 of them this year. They sell out literally overnight, at least if you want to bring your dog to the game. And of course, a lot of money raised for the SPCA here in Cincinnati, headed up by Harold Dates, and all the great work they're doing at SPCA Cincinnati. Reds down 3-0. Johnny Gomes, Ryan Hanigan, Paul Giannis against Randy Wells. Reds have only had one threat, and it came with 2 men out. Their last at bat when Joey Votto drew a walk and Brandon Phillips singled into left, but Lance Nix hit a very sharp comebacker to the mound that ricocheted off the glove of Wells and went right to the shortstop Theriot, who threw Nix out to end the inning. 1-2 to Johnny Gomes. 2-2 now to Gomes. Reds trying to get something going offensively here tonight. They came back from 3-0 down to tie the game at 3 yesterday. A half inning later, Colorado took a 4-3 lead before Joey Votto tied the game in the bottom of that inning with a home run. And then Colorado got 2 runs in the 11th to beat Nick Massenat. It's a pretty good looking team at Colorado Rockies team. I was stunned when I read the note where their pitching staff leads the entire National League in quality starts, even more than the Chicago Cubs team. And the Reds saw 3 mighty good starters over the weekend.
They did, and I'll tell you what, Ubaldo Jimenez may have had the best stuff that I have seen any pitcher have against the Reds so far this year. I mean, he was consistently throwing the ball 99 to 100 miles an hour with some great secondary pitches.
4 strikeout of the night by Randy Wells.
But that said, the most impressive thing for me again about that Colorado team was the athleticism and they were big athletic guys in the infield. They were all big, tall guys that were good athletes, and boy, they ranged all over the place. They made some tremendous defensive plays all weekend long.
You know, that quality start stat is one that is so frequently debated, where you hear guys say, well, you know, 6 innings, 3 runs, still an ERA at 4.5. You know, but the bottom line is, as a starter today, you give your team 6 innings of 3-run baseball, your team will be in every game that you play. But it is fascinating when looking at the teams in the National League and the number of quality starts. You have Colorado #1. You have the Cubs #2. But the Arizona Diamondbacks have 3 fewer quality starts from their rotation than Colorado. The Pittsburgh Pirates only have 8 fewer quality starts than the Chicago Cubs. There's a ground ball under the glove of Ramirez. That'll be a 1-out single for Ryan Hanigan. And really, when you look at the top 10 or 12, most of the teams are contending teams, but there are a lot of them that are nowhere close to being contending teams. Arizona, Toronto, the Pirates, Kansas City 9th in all of baseball. The New York Mets tied with Kansas City for the 9th most quality starts in all of baseball. Ball 1 to Paul Yamish.
All right, so the leaders in the National League, though, would include, well, the most quality starts of anybody in the league now. Danny Herron and Josh Johnson and Tim Lincecum all have 18. So let's assume they've had about 21 starts. So they've done a pretty good job of keeping their team in the game.
The ball hit hard, but right at Fukudome as he backpedals shy of the track.
Tell you one thing about this Chicago Cub outfield. They play very shallow here. In right field, Milton Bradley's made a nice play because he's played so shallow. That time, Fukudome had to go back, you know, a fair amount. Of course, you're down at the bottom of the order, which is one reason why they might be sneaking up a little bit. But still in all, he goes back on that ball nicely.
Talked about Harang hitting his first major league home run against Randy Wells about a week and a half ago. A 3-run shot to left field. Struck out his first time tonight, behind 0-2 this time.
Boy, you know how good that must have felt?
Well, you know exactly how it felt. You hit a home run in the major leagues. I'll tell you, your hitting numbers are pretty impressive.
If I could only have pitched, I had a good career.
Well, maybe that's the truth. Boy, Cubs getting lady luck on their side. That's a routine ground ball, but when you're going south, that ball ricochets off the pitcher and ends up dribbling into right field.
In center field coming from, because I don't see any cameras out there. Well, they have them tucked away very nicely here in Great American Ballpark. We're in center field. We're above the batter's eye, but below the Cincinnati Bell Riverboat deck. And got JK back here running one of the cameras. Grandkids watching tonight, Craig? Yes, sir. Watching. And tell you what, I've got a full house in here, Tom and Chris. There's 3 broadcasts going out tonight, a National one, Red side, and the Cubs side. So a full house out here in center field. But in case you wondered, this is where the shot comes from.
Very, very nice. JK out there. I've known JK for a long time. Long time. We go way back to our days at Channel 5.
Oh, way back at Channel 5.
I mean, 25 years ago, JK and I were working together.
25 years you guys have been together?
That's right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we weren't together all 25, but I will say this.
I got you.
I would see him every year for all 25 years because he lives right down the street from Chris, your good friend and mine, Mr. Ed Shepard and Pat Shepard.
Okay.
So used to stay at their house all the time, and JK lives right down the road, like 4 houses away.
JK said,
I want to ask you, was JK part of the bowling show?
Yes, he was. Bowling for straight time, as Roy Alfers used to say. We used to get up every Sunday morning. It was the longest running television show in Cincinnati. The show was on for like 30 years, 35 years. And if you were the weekend sports anchor at Channel 5 here in town, part of your job in the wintertime was to host the old Hudapole King of TV bowling. So every Sunday morning, I would wake up at about 5:15, 5:30 in the morning. I was single in those days, and I really liked Mount Adams. So a lot of Saturday nights it wasn't right back to the rack after work at 11:30.
So Sunday mornings you really felt like the all-American kid from Cincinnati getting up that early.
Ready to roll.
All right.
Working with Dave Newrath, Jennifer Hoinke, was Jennifer Kleekamp back then. But I mean, a lot of guys on our crew right now. Jim Strickler, JK, David Palmer. I mean, a lot of guys. Roy Alfers, our director, he was there every Sunday. Jesse Jackson, he was there every week. There's strike 3 called to Derek Lee. We had a great time, though. Once you got there and got it rolling, it was a lot of fun. You taped that show at about 7 a.m. You get finished about 8:30.
And you'd go back to bed.
Well, for a couple hours. But then you had to go do the Sunday sports at 6 and 11. they turn that show around and put it on at whatever it was, 11 a.m. or 12. That one's in the air, foul ground, and Votto runs out of room. That was a fun show to do. I remember one week, and really I still to this day I hold a grudge against our very distinguished and enormously successful director Roy Alfers doing the telecast tonight. But I recall one week where I didn't get a lot of sleep the night before, and popped up the next morning, was running a little late to get out to, I don't know, Princeton Bowl or somewhere like that. And we go on camera to do the thing in the morning. I'm pretty sure I had the same suit on that I had the night before, and had not had time to,
pajamas, right?
had not even had time to look in the mirror before going on television. And apparently the side of my head which I had slept on looked like the side of my head that I had slept on, and nobody on the crew bothered to say, hey, you might want to find a brush. You look like you're lopsided. But no. There's a roller foul, still 1-2 on Aramis Ramirez.
They eventually told you, but it was after the shoot.
No. When I went back to bed and then woke up to actually watch the show, and I saw myself on television, it looked like somebody hit me in the side of the head with a hammer, because the head's flat on the side there. It wasn't good. Wasn't good. Swing and a miss, and Aramis Ramirez going on strikes. Boy, harangue, 9 strikeouts here in the game.
Well, I mentioned early on that his delivery looks much better tonight than it has recently. Much more aggressive with his legs. He's getting on top of his breaking ball, and he's finishing it. And he's got 9 punch outs. Most of those punch outs have come on that breaking ball. Getting some runs.
By the way, the 9 strikeouts ties a season high for Aaron Harang, and we're only in the 6th inning. Now, what are you seeing different tonight, Chris?
Well, what I'm seeing different out of Aaron is a couple of things. Number one, he's using his legs more to really drive towards home plate, staying over the rubber until the last possible second. And the other thing is his arm angle on his breaking ball is high. Higher than it normally has been. He's not trying to get more of a sweeping action. He's trying to get more depth, which will make it go down. But I think overall, just his aggressive nature of staying over the rubber, and then when he makes his move to the plate, you drive with your legs rather than just kind of drift that way.
Well, he is throwing a lot harder tonight than he has in any start all year long.
Yes, he has.
2-2 to Milton Bradley. In the air, left field, driven pretty hard, but Nix is there in the track, and the inning is over. 1, 2, 3 for Harang. Reds come to bat. Top of the order coming up, trailing 3-0. about when you're going good. Wells barely gets the glove up. It ricochets, and the Reds' luck of late means it's right to the shortstop for the last out of the inning. The Coors Light Freeze Cam brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Randy Wells working on a 3-hitter. Chris told you he's coming off his best start as a major leaguer his last time out. 8 innings of 6-hit shutout baseball, and that coming on the heels of 6 innings allowing just 3 runs against the Reds. And you got to remember the 3 runs that he allowed that game. We showed you how that occurred earlier on a 3-run home run by Aaron Harang. Pop up short right field, 1 away by Taveras.
Hey, Reds fans, for a great tasting quality meal for your family, pick up a bag of JTM beef or chicken Philly cheesesteaks from your favorite grocer. JTM, food, family, fun.
Strike 1 to Adam Rosales, who's fly to right and lined to right. Chris brought up earlier how shallow the Cubs outfield plays. Take a look where Milton Bradley is. I mean, when's the last time we've ever seen a right fielder play that shallow in this park? Dribbler out in front of the mound, and Hill throws out Rosales, and just like that, with the top of the order coming up, 2 are out. You know, Dusty Baker yesterday, for the first time all season long, moved Ryan Hanigan up to the number 2 hole in the batting order. Now, he only got on base 1 time. But one thing Hanigan has done is proven that he can get on base. But tonight, he's right back in that, 7 or 8 hole. Those were the only 2 spots in the batting order he had hit in the entire year until yesterday. 3-0 Nevada.
Well, he's had in the past, in the recent past, Dusty Baker, that is, he's had Alex Gonzalez in the number 2 hole for a couple of days, and if that doesn't work, you swing him back to the number 7 spot. Tonight, it's the chance for Adam Rosales to be in that number 2 hole. But I got to ask the question. I mean, with the way that Willie Taveras has struggled in the leadoff spot, on top of the way the Reds struggled last year in the leadoff spot, mainly with Corey Patterson, is that something that they're going to have to address in the offseason?
Fly ball left field, sends Soriano to a track. 1, 2, 3, go the Reds. End of 6, 3-0 Chicago. But Aaron Harang, outside of that home run, has been extremely sharp tonight. He has struck out 9, which ties the season high. But Randy Wells has just dominated this struggling Reds lineup. Fan 4, walked 1, allowed only 3 base hits. So here we are starting the 7th inning with the Cubs leading on that Fontenot home run. Still 3-0. Soriano, Fontenot, and Hill due up for the Cubs in the 7th inning. Pitch of the night upcoming for Aaron Harang, who has only allowed 1 hit since he gave up 3 runs and 3 hits. That's lined into left. Nix, a nice running catch towards the corner. He got an excellent jump on that low liner off the bat of Soriano and ran it down.
Remember that when you're playing left field and a ball comes off the bat towards the line off a right-handed hitter, that ball's hooking. And he's got to give that a little extra effort to get over there. Nice running catch for Lance Nix, who has spent the last few days playing center field. Today with Taveras back in the lineup, Nix moves to the left field spot, and he gets a little bit of applause from Aaron Harang.
You know, everybody's going to have a hiccup every now and again, but Nix has been a pretty good defender in the outfield this season. And it figures he would be. I mean, he made it to the major leagues as an everyday player, as a center fielder. Down the right field line. Bending foul and out of play by Fontenot. Hit the 3-run home run back in that 2nd inning. We're starting to say, since the double by Randy Wells in the 2nd inning, the Cubs have only had 1 base runner through the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and now 7th innings. That was a 2-out double by Fukudome in the 5th. Make it 2 base runners. Coy Hill has been called out on strikes, and he's gone down swinging. 0 for 2. Good fastball by Harang on the inside corner, and he's ahead of Coy Hill at 0-2. Told you night games again tomorrow and Wednesday, both starting times at 7:10, and we invite you to come on down. Call 381-REDS or log on to reds.com. Johnny Cueto against Tom Gorzolani here tomorrow night. Justin Lear against Rich Harden on Wednesday. On Thursday, the Reds will be traveling to California. Strike 3 called. That's a season high. 10 strikeouts for Aaron Harang.
Well, you talk about finishing your pitches. Great example right here for Aaron Harang. The only way you get that ball to come back a little bit on the inside corner to a left-hander, you as a right-handed pitcher, you've got to get good extension, good direction with your front side, and way out over your front leg. and most of all finish the pitch, and he gets his 10th punch out of the year doing that one.
Harang throwing the ball so well here tonight. You pointed it out right from the beginning, Chris, after that shaky inning in the second where he allowed 3 hits, hit a batter, a 3-run home run. But I mean, there is very little debate whether it's a breaking ball that you pointed out early on or much better velocity on the fastball. This is the Aaron Harang we saw went back-to-back years of 16 games tonight. But he trails 3-0. Time now for the 7th inning stretch presented by Cincinnati Bell. Now listen to this, folks. They tell you got to spend a fortune to go to a ball game and get something to eat. Don't believe it. The Kroger meal deal, you get a full-size adult hot dog, a 16-ounce Coke, a bag of chips, and during this homestand, Dan and yogurt, and all of that for just $7. So, with all the great pricing for tickets on any given day of the week here at Great American Ballpark, along with a Kroger meal deal, you're in business for a great value. Cubs throw the ball around the infield. Reds come to bat where Brandon Phillips will lead it off, followed by Lance Nix and Johnny Gomes, with the Reds down 3-0. Phillips has bounced to third and singled by the third baseman Aramis Ramirez. First pitch swinging down, strike one. To Hopper to Terrio. Look at that mega $1 million jackpot, all the way up to $84 million. How would that payday go in the Welsh family? 84 million bones. Would that be good?
Would I have to split it with the kids?
That's strictly up to you. You could buy the entire Commonwealth of Kentucky.
You think so?
perhaps a slight exaggeration.
I
But
might
you
be
could
able
buy a
to
good
bribe the
chunk of
local
it.
law enforcement officers, though, to make it a little more difficult for you to make it to the airport on time.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, all the time, the way you constantly rip on the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
What do you mean rip on the Commonwealth? I never rip on the Commonwealth, ever.
I think I'm just going to have to alert them anyway. They might do it for free, just for fun.
For all you know, they're doing it already.
What's the color of your car you're driving now?
Light shade of green.
You're thinking of the Indiana State Police.
And Ohio. And Kentucky.
Next time you get pulled over, I think you just need to look at the officer in the eye and say, "Officer, you know, I really could use a break today."
I should have taken your advice the last time you and I drove together. That was back from Chicago, right?
Yes, it was.
That was not good. Not good. Then a week later, I'm with Daddy Wags, and they get me in Lima. I don't go very fast anymore. I like my license. 0-2 on Lance Nix. If it says 55, I'm at 54.
That way.
That's right. And 2 on Lance Nix. Struck him out. 5 of them tonight for Randy Wells.
Well, he is very impressive. Randy Wells is. I mean, you know, he pitches consistently somewhere around 87 to 89 miles an hour with his fastball, a sinking fastball. He turns this one over very nicely to Lance Nix. But when he wants to, he'll throw the ball upstairs around the letters at about 92. It's just a simple pitcher. 3 pitches. Changes speeds a little bit, but not all that much. And boy, he's pitching with a lot of confidence, and you can tell that right now.
2 down for Johnny Gomes. Ball 1. Boy, and very pitch efficient too. 82 of them in the game. And here we are in the bottom of the 7th inning with 2 men out.
I mean, he is a lot like, I mean, very much like the starter. I've said this already, and maybe I'm beating a dead horse, but he's a lot like Jason Marquis was yesterday. Just pounding the bottom of the strike zone, changing speeds a little bit, dropping his curveball in to keep you honest. And he's ready to pitch, too. I mean, he's standing on the mound waiting normally for that hitter to get back in the batter's box. And that's what pitchers love to do when they get on a roll. They can't wait to get that ball and go.
Back up through the middle, fielded by Fontenot, and the stretch by Lee, and the throw pulled him off the bat.
Now, the Reds have hit so many ground balls back up the middle. Randy Wells has had a good job of just deflecting a couple of them. Didn't even try on that one. Maybe he thought his shortstop would be a lot closer to the bag and be able to get that one. That's going to go as a base hit, even though the throw is what pulled him off the bag. You got to give a base hit on that, and they do. Reds have collected 4 of them now. All singles.
Yeah, 2 of the 4 infield hits. Ryan Hannigan looks at ball 1. He has a base hit and 2 at bats tonight.
Yeah, really, you know, thinking about the last 3 or 4 pitchers the Reds have seen here on this homestand. The last 3, including Randy Wells tonight, prolific ground ball pitchers. Wells tonight, Marquis, and then of course on Friday night it was Aaron Cook.
Well, that entire Colorado staff has been built around the sinker ball pitcher. for obvious reasons, where they play at mile-high altitude.
Well, they went through a lot of different ideas on how to build the correct staff. One was to go out and get the hardest throwing fireballers you could find, run them out there, let them pitch as hard as they could for as long as they could, then bring in a fireballer reliever. That didn't work. But I think with the help of the humidor out there, which has really restricted the amount of distance the ball flies, that and the fact that you've got some good solid sinker ball pitchers, that's one reason why that staff is on its way to being one of the better ones in the league.
Well, you're right about that humidor, though. I mean, we were going there in Arizona, 9-10 games a year. It was ridiculous. It's one thing to go watch 3 games a season out there. You go watch 10, 11 games, 9, 10, 11, and now the difference, the pitchers, as you say, have a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, Coors Field no longer, over the last 5 years now, is not even in the top 5 among all parks in baseball for giving up home runs. Hannigan draws a walk, second time he's been on tonight.
Well, he'll draw a walk. He has drawn more walks than he has strikeouts on the year, Ryan Hannigan. 27 walks now for Hannigan, and that is only 20 strikeouts. That's why his on-base percentage is up over 400.
And which again begs a question of something we pointed out that Dusty Baker did yesterday for the first time all year. It is a little perplexing if the idea, and let's face it, the way the Reds are going right now, by and large, yesterday a slight exception. By and large, if Votto and Phillips aren't knocking in runs, they're not scoring. And when you get one of the rare guys on your team that has shown the ability to consistently get on base the way Hannigan has this year when he's played, it's hard to understand why he's hitting in the 7 and 8 hole the way this team's made up right now.
Well, I think one of the answers to that, Tom, is the fact that I think the coaching staff, including Dusty Baker, feel that he is succeeding because, in part, he is down at that part of the lineup in the number 7 or 8 hole, where sometimes the pitcher will let up on you a little bit, walk you more, because they know they've got the pitcher coming up in the number 9 spot. When you put them in the number 2 hole, it's a different story. They're coming right at you. So it's kind of an easing in process, if you want to call it that. But he has not had too many opportunities to bat second. Yesterday was one. He reached base, I think, only once.
Big chance for Paul Giannis. He hit the ball right on the nose his last time up to straightaway center field. And it's 2-0. Drew Sutton is standing in the on-deck circle and will bat for Aaron Harang.
Boy, it looks like all of a sudden Randy Wells has hit the wall.
Pretty good pitch right there. But you ask yourself the question, though, Chris. I mean, as a batter right there, and Giannis is a young player, you can't be looking for this pitch 2-0.
No, you know what? This is what separates you. You get 2-0 and a pitcher struggling. That ball has to be right down the center in the size of a box of a Kleenex box. And let it rip. Not an underwater swing.
Hitting over. Still 3-0. Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. Downtown Cincinnati on just a perfect night. And Aaron Harang will take the ball in the 8th inning. He has been mighty impressive here tonight outside of that 3-run, 3-hit second inning. He has only allowed 2 base runners since that inning. A 2-out double by Fukudome in the 5th. A 1-out single by Fontenot in the 7th. But he's on the short end of a 3-0 game. Harang has fanned a season high 10. Career high is 13. Now Harang has had some problems tonight with Fukudome. He walked him leading off the game, struck him out in the 2nd, and then allowed the double in the 5th. He's fallen behind 3-1 leading off the 8th inning, and walked him again. 3rd time Fukudome has been on base tonight. No other Cub has been on base more than once. I beg your pardon, Fontenot twice.
Well, a difference in contrast right there for Aaron Harang in seasons 2006 and 2007. 16-game winners with good earned run averages in the mid-3s. 16-6 in 2007, but last year exactly the opposite, with an earned run average a run higher, and the same for this year, 5-12. The last 2 years, a lot of those wins and losses have to do with the run support that he has received, but he's not one to shy away from it. He'll tell you that he has not been the same pitcher, although he has thrown the ball as well tonight as he has all year long, and that's a good sign.
Ryan Theriot is 0 for 3 tonight. Wow, nearly in time to pick off Fukudome. It's a very odd way of holding a runner on base, compared at least to most other guys. Practically every other guy, there's a bunt by Theriot, and that'll advance a runner.
Well, it becomes more of a new way of doing things, it seems like. You see more and more first basemen standing in front of the bag a little bit instead of hovering over the bag. Of course, you have to have both feet in play when you're holding a runner on first base.
Saturday afternoons, the Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week comes your way, and this week a renewal of one of the great rivalries in all of sports. The Boston Red Sox go to the Bronx to take on the Yankees. That begins at 4 p.m. Eastern this week on Fox. And going into play tonight, the Yankees and the Red Sox separated by a half game in the American League East. No move made yet by Dusty Baker.
No, Dusty Baker is one of those rare managers that will allow a pitcher to talk himself into staying into a ball game. Most managers, when they leave the dugout, they've made up their mind as to whether they're just out there to give a pep talk or whether they're going to take that guy out of the ball game. But Dusty's been known this year to ask a pitcher, how do you feel? And sometimes he wants that guy to be demonstrative and to say, hey, I'm going to get this guy. Don't worry about it. Or don't you dare go to the bullpen right here. This is my man. And evidently he was satisfied with the answer given by Harang.
Double down the left field line. It's 4-0 Chicago.
And that said, Tom, I will tell you that I have never, and told a manager that I couldn't get a guy out, and I've never met another pitcher that has ever told a manager, take me out. That wasn't all that bad of a pitch, but that is a hot spot for Derek Lee. You know, he's a hot hitter, even though he has not had a good night at the plate tonight. He's essentially a right-handed, left-handed hitter. He likes the ball down and in and up and away. Much in the way lefties like the ball down and in and up and away.
Well, what a shame. Aaron Harang pitches the kind of game he pitched tonight. Threw the ball as well as he threw the ball tonight. And after giving that RBI double to Derek Lee, the line won't look as impressive. 4 runs in 7 1/3 innings, only 6 hits. After a sacrifice, a double by Lee and Harang out of the game. David Weathers on the mound, part of a double switch. Alex Gonzalez takes over at short. He'll bat in the 9th hole, which means he leads off the bottom of the 8th. Reds have lost 6 in a row. They have lost 11 out of 12. Now, here is something that you will get tremendous debate on from people who have been in uniform, whether they be coaches, managers, catchers, players, about bringing a pitcher into a game and then asking that guy to intentionally walk a batter. And then to get it all together and face the very next hitter. It's very interesting. The Reds would walk Aramis Ramirez here after last week. They had a chance to do the same thing 2 or 3 times in a game, and Ramirez knocked in 4 runs in that game. Ball 1 to Milton Bradley.
Well, the controversy you mean as to whether the pitcher who was just taken out of the game should have been left in long enough to walk the batter intentionally and then bring the reliever in.
Because here the pitcher's been in such a groove in the bullpen, and when he comes out to make his warm-up tosses of throwing strikes and trying to locate and get a feel on the stadium mound, when he comes out there, and then you ask him to throw 4 straight pitches out of the zone, and oftentimes this is what you see happen.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more on that. Not only that, but if that runner that he just intentionally walked comes around to score, that's his earned run, which seems kind of unfair.
And how about Milton Bradley? 3-0 Hackett. Wow. 3-2.
Of course, if you're asking yourself why they walked the right-hander Ramirez anyway to pitch to a left-handed hitting Milton Bradley, Ramirez against David Weathers is just eating them alive. 8 for 19 with 6 runs batted in and 4 walks with an on-base percentage of .500.
You know, you go back to that game when Ramirez actually knocked in 3 runs. And boy, they were all 3 big RBIs in that game. There's ball 4 to Bradley, and the bases are loaded.
And David Weathers wanted that one.
So they are loaded for Alfonso Soriano. Cub fans here tonight. In fact, a whole pile of Cub fans in attendance here tonight. Soriano, and it's 2-0.
Now David Weathers playing good old country hardball with Alfonso Soriano. Goes back behind to him. 2 balls and no strikes. 2 fastballs right down Broadway, and he blows him right by Soriano, who is not getting cheated.
Two and 2 on Soriano. Struck him out.
What a great effort by David Weathers right here. 2 fastballs and a little bit of a cutter or slider right there. Had him off speed. And Soriano just wades right through it.
Now Fontenot saw Daniel Ray Herrera getting loose in the Reds bullpen. And clearly the thinking here is, I mean, let's be honest about it. Fontenot did hit a home run earlier this game. In fact, he's 2 for 3. But coming in, he's a .230 bat. Lou Piniella, always a manager thinking about going for the jugular if he's got a chance to do it. And you can pretty much rest assured, had Herrera been brought into this game to face Fontenot, Fontenot would not be batting. So the question would become, do you want Herrera against more than likely, Jake Fox off their bench, or Jeff Baker, or do you like the veteran Weathers against Fontenot? 2-0 pitch is 3-0.
Well, if you go by numbers alone, I would imagine you like this matchup right here. You have experience in Weathers, and you have a very odd split with Daniel Ray Herrera, lefty versus righty. Very good against left-handers, not nearly as good against right-handers.
I think both David Weathers and Dusty Baker feel that Paul Emmel squeezing the pitcher strike zone a little bit. You brought up that 3-2 pitch to Bradley that Weathers wanted.
Yeah, that's the inside strike, though. That inside strike is an awfully tough strike to get unless it actually gets over the corner of the plate. Because look where the umpire's lining up. He's lining up right on that inside corner right there. Gives himself a great view.
Pull to the right side. What a job by Weathers. What a job by Weathers. After an intentional walk, he walks the next batter, and then with the bases loaded takes care of Soriano and Fontenot. Well done, David Weathers.
From the ball game, but is that true? Let's take a look as David Weathers coming off the mound right there. There's the umpire giving him the sign of get out of here. And after that ensued a discussion between David Weathers, Dusty Baker, and Paul Emmel, the home plate umpire.
You can read his lips. He said, "Why did you stare at me?" He asked him that twice. He said, "Why did you stare at me? I asked you that twice." And then after he was thrown out of the game, Weathers, clearly you could read his lips. He said, "What did I do?"
Even Dusty is incredulous. He looks at Paul Emmel and says, "You threw him out? Why?"
Could read his lips there a third time. "Why did you stare at me?" Well, Randy Wells staring down the Reds here in the 8th inning. What an effort it has been yet again for Wells. This is back-to-back starts that he has pitched shutout baseball. Alex Gonzalez batting for the first time, down 1-2. And again, you go back to the start before that, were it not for a mistake by Wells allowing a 3-run home run to Aaron Harang. And those are the only 3 runs this guy has allowed in his last 21 innings.
You know, you add on to that, Tom, the fact that the Cubs bullpen right now is very depleted. And they needed more than anything a ball game in which their starting pitcher tonight goes deep into the game to give the bullpen some time off. The same thing happened to Wells his last time out against the Houston Astros. The bullpen at that time was very depleted as well. And he has gone out 2 times in a row now and essentially has given those guys a night off.
Well, it was an ugly weekend for that Cub bullpen in Florida. Take a look at that. 12 1/3 innings, 12 earned runs.
When you figure that 3-game series had 27 innings played, nearly half the game was pitched by the bullpen. Ryan Dempster on his second rehab start, or second start back, pitched 6 innings. They got him out of there after 99 pitches. Carlos Zambrano down in Florida left after 3 innings with a sore back. But tonight it's been an easy run for Randy Wells.
That ball into deep left center field. Soriano at the wall. Goodbye. Home run, Alex Gonzalez. That is the first home run for Alex Gonzalez since May the 2nd, when the Reds played in Pittsburgh 148 at-bats ago.
Now, he was pesky in this at-bat, was Alex Gonzalez. He fouled off several pitches before he got a breaking ball on the inner third of the plate. Dropped the head and sent it into the left field bleachers. And finally a crooked number on the board for the Reds.
Tapper in the hole at short, fielded by Terrio, nearly lost his footing. But able to get the back foot planted and throw out Willie Taveras. Well, everything you knew about fantasy football is about to change. Introducing the all-new Fox Fantasy Football with more customizable features, new ways to play. Log on to foxsports.com on MSN and join the next generation of family football and fantasy football. Base hit center field by Adam Rosales. Well, the Reds, who had a total of 4 base hits in the first 7 innings off Wells, have 2 hits, including a home run here in the 8th, and here comes Lou Piniella. But another outstanding effort by the rookie right-hander Randy Wells. He goes 7 1/3 innings, allows 6 hits so far, 1 run. He fanned 5, and he walked 2. Leaves with 1 in, 1 on, and 1 out here in the 8th inning. Jeff Baker, as part of a double switch, takes over at second. He'll bat 9th, which means he bats second in the 9th inning. Well, the Rockies brought in left-hander Joe Bible to face Joey Votto yesterday. Votto hit a home run, And recently acquired John Grabo takes over to face Votto 1 day later.
Now, he has spent his entire major league career in this Central Division, but all with the Pittsburgh Pirates beginning back in 2003. A workhorse of a left-hander, and he clips him with the first pitch.
How about that? Well, that's a way to really get on the good side of Lou Piniella.
Actually, that may not have even gotten him, as you see that on slow motion right there.
Look at Piniella. He is hot. I mean, he is hot. He was kicking dirt around down there by the batting cage, and you could see him talking to himself.
He'll tell you what's on his mind, won't he?
Oh, yeah. We'll get a full report tomorrow.
I can't wait.
He's one of our all-time favorites. He tells it like it is. You know, he brought up the other day when we saw him. He said, you know, I saw where I got voted by players in Major League Baseball, some poll where guys didn't want to play for me. Look at this. A double play by Brandon Phillips. So perhaps Mr. Piniella's a little happy about John Grabo now. Lance Nix got on this sinking liner, hooking towards the corner off the bat of Alfonso Soriano. Back in the 7th inning on John Morrell hot dog play of the game. That's a huge double play right there, bounced into by Brandon Phillips, representing the tying run.
Did you think it was odd that Lou Piniella left John Grabo in the ball game after he clipped Joey Votto with the first pitch he threw, lefty on lefty? That's why he brought him in there to face Votto.
You know, to answer your question, I'm not, because of what you talked about earlier and all the use in their bullpen. I think with a 3-run lead, that was a tying run at the plate. I think he wants to stay as far away from Marmol and Gregg and all those guys as he can tonight. He said they're available.
He probably said that to you, thinking that you go back to the Reds management and say, hey,
that's right,
in case you think that those guys aren't going to pitch tonight, Lou told me that they're available.
There's no question. I ran down there as soon as he told me.
Can't keep a secret.
No, not a chance. And he knows that. So
told me the same thing.
Daniel Ray Herrera having an outstanding rookie year. Facing Coy Hill, be followed by Jeff Baker, and then Kosuke Fukudome. Well, we were talking about Lou Piniella, and he was the one that brought the topic up. I mean, you know, we know Lou, I think, well enough where, you know, one of us could have brought up the topic, but look, I mean, how many times do you have a conversation with somebody where they just got voted least anything and you're going to bring it up, right? Because there's a base hit by Hill. And he said, look, he said, if anybody thinks for a second that bothers me, they couldn't be further from the truth. He said, what we try to do around whatever club he's managing, he said, we're fair. He said, but people who play for me are accountable. They are accountable. They are being paid in a results production business. And if the results aren't there and the production's not there, he said, we try to bring a player into my office. He said, we will sit down and we will ask him and try to talk to him about what we can do as a manager and a coaching staff to help make him a better player. He said, we will go about trying what we can to make that happen. But if it doesn't happen, somebody else is going to play. End of story. And it's interesting when you talk to some of these Cub players, those that are producing, those that go out and play hard, those that concentrate about playing the game, they will tell you they love playing for Lou Piniella. To the count on Baker. And that's not to say other managers don't do the same thing. I'm sure a lot of them do. But a big difference between Piniella and many other managers is
their communication style.
That's exactly right. And especially in the press. I mean, Piniella has been much better this year about not necessarily getting on guys in post-game tirades. Said he's working to do better on that. Pulled foul. But he's not going to sugarcoat much, whether it be in the press or whether it be to a player's face. Had the run in earlier this year with Milton Bradley. We saw the wins. A lot of them for Lou Piniella. Of course, he's won a World Series right here in Cincinnati. And since coming aboard with the Cubs, they have won back-to-back division championships. Rosales, Phillips, Votto, double play.
Boy, Adam Rosales shows off his arm right here. Fields it, backhands it, and fires a bullet to second baseman Brandon Phillips, who's able to turn a double play. The second one the Reds have turned on the Cubs tonight.
Now Fukudome has been on base 3 times tonight, scored a run, 2 walks and a hit. Strike 1. Bottom of a 9th inning for the Reds. It'll be Lance Nix, Johnny Gomes, Ryan Hannigan. And should they go any deeper than that, the pitcher spot. One and 2 the count on Fukudome. A roller foul, or is it? No, that ball staying fair. Wisely done by Daniel Ray Herrera. Not even going to give that ball a chance to roll foul. Scooped it up and got the final out. Here we go. Do the Reds have a rally in the bottom of the 9th, down 3? basement giveaway from the Basement Guys. To enter, go to thebasementguys.com. Well, we told Carlos Marmol was available tonight out of the Cub bullpen. They're going to give him a chance to close a game. And of course, Marmol went to spring training in direct competition with Kevin Gregg for that closer spot. But Gregg won the job. We brought up earlier, Gregg Saturday and Sunday with blown save opportunities. So tonight, Mr. Marmol is going to get that chance. He didn't throw the ball very well in Florida either.
Well, no, he had one blow up there in Florida. There's no doubt about it. In fact, he gave up 3 runs on the 31st of the month in 2/3 of an inning. But prior to that, you've got to go back that early to mid-July before he has given up a run. Plenty of stuff from Marmol. Always more strikeouts than innings pitched. And always nearly a walk an inning. So the downside of Carlos Marmol is his control. The upside is his incredible, tough to hit stuff.
Andres Blanco takes over at second base for Jeff Baker. So after missing ball 1, Nick's hacking away and fouls it out of play off to the third base side. 1-1.
Reds need base runners
against a guy who, as you brought up, is capable of walking the bases loaded in the blink of an eye. Two and one on Lance Nix. You really got to wonder. You know, you really got to wonder. You're down by 3 runs. Here's a guy that more times than not can't find the plate, or at least let's call it half the time, has a hard time finding the plate. He's already thrown now 4 balls in this at bat. When he comes in, throws the first pitch, ball 1, then a swing, ball 2. Here's a 3-2 pitch. And how about that, a walk?
Well, if Lupinello looks relaxed on the bench, because we had a conversation today, Tom, and he's probably told you this before. He says, you know what, your managing job is over as soon as you bring your closer in. And tonight, Carlos Marmol is his closer. He says, I can't do anything more now. You got to leave the game in his hands.
That is a 49th walk by Marmol in 51 innings. And he got a borderline strike call there on the first pitch to Johnny Gomes
with a breaking ball.
There's another breaking ball.
Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes when you can't find the zone with your fastball, you try something else.
Strike called there. That was a good breaking ball from Marmol. When he's throwing that pitch for a strike, he's almost unhittable.
Especially if you're right-handed. I mean, he drops down on you, freezes you anyway, and he throws that breaking ball, which ends up right on the black.
Well, clearly he's having problems with his command on the fastball.
Well, I mean, you look at his delivery, there's no reason why you wouldn't think that he'd have problems. I mean, he's a 110% effort pitcher every time he throws the ball. I mean, he throws hard, 97, 98 miles an hour.
3-2.
But you wouldn't think that even if he calmed his delivery down even just a little bit, and maybe take a mile an hour off the fastball and improve your command, you'd still have a very good slider.
a breaking ball and struck him out. One away in the ninth.
Really never was a strike. But you know what? When you're throwing 98, you've got to be geared for something quick. And that ain't a bad breaking ball, I'll tell you what, dude. Unless you're in the batter's box to see something like that. That ball looks about the size of a baby aspirin.
Well, now Hannigan. He takes ball one. Now, Chris, I know you were talking the other day, the one guy that's caught your eye in a very short amount of time. You're standing in the on-deck circle. Vladimir Valentin.
He's got some power.
1-1.
Some scouts have likened him to Ruben Mateo.
Breaking ball up and in. Two and one to Hannigan. It's ball three outside. Well, Valentin, young man you were just talking about, is a pitch away from having a chance to step up there with the bases loaded. I mean, you were watching him at BP the other day, and he said, man, this guy's got some power. Base hit into right field by Hannigan. So Valentin will get a chance, representing a tying run here at the bottom of the ninth inning. Well, there is activity in the Chicago bullpen. And Lou Piniella, it appears, is coming out to get Carlos Marmol. Well, you got to really wonder about the Cubs' chances based on what has happened through the first part of this season. And look at him giving it to Marmol. Goodness gracious. Going to stay with Marmol, but starting to say, you really have to wonder. I mean, even the most ardent Cub fan cannot look you in the eye and be sincere and be honest and tell you that when the Cubs lead by a run or two late in a game, that they really feel good about that lead. I'm not talking about against some of the teams that are more offensively challenged. I'm talking about some of the teams they're going to have to beat to get in the playoffs, or once they get in the playoffs.
Now, they could have used another reliever. They did pick up John Gramo, but they could have used somebody in the back end of their bullpen, no doubt.
There's ball one. You can see Marmol. He took a tongue lashing from Piniella out there on the mound. He's got a little more bounce in his step. And there's a fastball or breaking ball in there for a strike.
And you know what he's doing is probably the exact opposite of what you see a veteran reliever do in a crunch time situation. He is bouncing and hurrying back to the mound. He's walking guys, getting behind in the count, and he's grabbing that ball and running back to the mound and trying to get it go as quickly as he can.
And they can't go out to the mound and visit again and tell him to slow down without taking him out.
I mean, this is the time when, as a reliever or a pitcher, you want to slow things down, not speed them up. Kind of pitch to hit.
pitches in the inning already by Marmol. 2-2 on Vladimir Valentin. Oh, he got a hanger there and fouls it off. Mercy, mercy, mercy. Those are the ones you hit in the second deck.
Those are the ones you dream about at night.
That's what you were talking about, watching this guy hammer him in his seats the other day. Instead, he chases a fastball up and away. And that's his second out of the inning. Or was that another breaking ball? Yep, there was a breaking ball. Reds are down their final out.
Well, they got a bad swing at the previous breaking ball, so Marmol decided to go with it. And not a lot of body strength behind that swing.
Now Alex Gonzalez, the tying run of the plate. He hit the solo home run off Wells in the 8th inning. And wow, how in the world is that called a strike? You got to be kidding me. The guy's going good, that's one thing. You see Marmol bouncing off that mound ahead 0-2. Well, Pinella came out there, and I mean, that was a one-way conversation. After the leadoff walk, an out later, gave up a 3-1 single to right by Hannigan. Out came Pinella. Marmol takes care of Valentin, and now ahead 0-2 on Gonzalez. That looked like another hanger. But when you're down 0-2.
They look like a hanger from up here in the 3rd level. They may look like a hanger from your living room, but when you're in that batter's box and he comes from down around Laredo on you and drops that slider on you, even when it hangs, you've really got to force yourself to stay in there.
Well, here you have a kid in Marmol that's been blessed with an unbelievable arm. His fastball 97, 98 miles an hour, and I mean almost exclusively in this inning. He has fallen back to nothing but breaking ball.
Not because he hasn't been able to throw his fastball over. Well, it was a little down and in breaking ball that Gonzalez jolted out of here for the only Reds run.
He's hanging in there. That was a fastball.
And he wanted it up, Coy Hill did, but I'll tell you what, down and in is the one spot that Alex Gonzalez has got some power.
'30th pitch of this 9th inning coming up from Marmol, and you saw it up in the strike zone, signaled for by Hill. That was up in the strike zone on a breaking ball and fouled away.
Boy, how often do you see that called by a catcher? Give me a high slider. But when you work at the arm angle that Carlos Marmol does, you work underneath that ball and it kind of has a frisbee effect.
Again up in the strike zone. 8th pitch in the at bat. And taken by Gonzalez up and away. Two on, 2 out. 1 ball, 2 strikes. In the air, and that ball out of play. So 9 pitches have gone in this at bat so far. Marmol against Gonzalez. There will be a 10th. And Alex representing the tying run here in the last of the 9th inning. In this at bat, you got to give both Marmol and Gonzalez a lot of credit. To think that there have been 10 pitches in this at bat and the count is only 1-2 tells you, guy, A guy as wild as a hare leading up to this at bat is pumping in plenty of strikes. And Gonzalez hanging in there. Hammered down the left field line. It'll go to the wall. 1 run score. They're going to hold the other runner at third on an RBI double by Alex Gonzalez. And now the Reds will bring the winning run to the plate. What a great at bat by Alex Gonzalez.
Well, you're not kidding about that. Alex Gonzalez had a very similar at bat as last time up against Randy Wells. That ended with a home run. This time, another high breaking ball, and Gonzalez hammers it down the left field line and scores 2 and scores 1, ends up on second, and the tying runs are on base and in scoring position.
Well, now Willie Taveras, who's only knocked in 14 runs this entire season, has a tying run at second base. First pitch, breaking ball to strike. Taveras 0 for 4 tonight. And this will end the game. One run, a couple of hits, 2 men left. But the old adage